Zorya, I'm so excited to chat with you this morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So, Zorya, when did you make the leap from part-time investor to full-time investor? When was that?
I would have been in 2017 when my son was born. That's when I just went full time, never went back to my engineering job, and just full time focused on our growing our business. And yeah, did that for the next few years until was we were in a position that Patrick could leave his job too. So now we're both full time into this.
How scary? Which one was more frightening, the first or the second?
Well, the second when you don't when neither of you have a job, but we're self-employed and it's almost been 2 years now that we're both in this, so it's going great. Wouldn't have it any other
Would
way.
you do you feel like you made the jump at the right time? Do you wish you did it earlier? Do you wish you waited later?
I think it was the right time. Yeah, we didn't just we put a lot of thought into it. We knew that it was a big jump and didn't just do it just because to just give it a try. But yeah, I think it was the right time. We made sure that we could have some income. We have income sources and ability to, create more income sources, and that's what we've been able to do now. But it was a bit of a leap because you can't necessarily double your income before reducing one of them. So you have to take a bit of a leap and make sure that you have a bit of a runway. And during that time, do what you need to do to create those other income sources.
How did you
Yeah.
know it was the right time?
Like when we had enough money, I guess, saved up and we had some income coming in, but we had enough saved up that we knew that we could survive for like at least another year if, even if we didn't make anything in that first year. So give us some time.
So you had a reserve fund
A
just to
reserve
make sure
fund.
that you could stay afloat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And some
very cool.
backup
Very
plans.
cool.
And yeah. Well, worst
Yeah, I was
case
gonna
is
say
like we
because
could get a job, right? But we haven't had to do that yet.
of course, and I don't think you'll have to because you guys are doing such awesome things as well. And I mean, you guys have been so busy because you wear many hats. You got the mom hat, you got the wife hat, right? You have the
Yeah.
investor hat, you have the coach hat,
Yeah.
you have the speaker hat, and I'm probably missing a few.
That's mostly it. Yeah. The property manager hat now too.
And the property manager hat, okay. And how are you finding property management?
Well, we were doing a lot of the work already. That's pretty a new thing this past month. But yeah, we were doing a lot of it already, so it was not too big of a jump to just take it over.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. 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 Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're busy. I know you're busy. So thanks for taking the time
Yeah.
today. I'm excited to talk about multifamily and how you can save thousands of dollars. Because I think a lot of, unexperienced or unorganized investors can end up spending a lot more when it comes to investing, maybe more than they need to.
Hmm.
And I think there's ways that they can save some of that money, right? Who wants to save money out there? I think everybody wants to save money. You save
Yeah.
the money and then it's almost like money earned, right? Like that's money you can use for your next project. That's money you can go on vacation. You know. So why don't we start from the very beginning? What are the first couple steps you recommend when it comes to investing in multifamily and how they can save money?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah,
What's
because we
step
want
one?
to get into like the saving money and not just, yeah, I see it as like, yeah, saving money, also how to not go bankrupt and how to not lose a bunch of money and how to not overpay for
Absolutely.
something. So it's, yeah, step
Yeah.
one is before you go start talking to realtors and trying to like go look at properties, the first step is to figure out what you can qualify for, what's your buy box or your criteria. So you need to do a little bit of a research. You need to get some education to try and figure out how big of a property you can get, where do you want to buy, and try to narrow that down. Because if you just go to somebody and say, I want to buy multifamily in Edmonton, like they're actually, first of all, probably not going to take you that seriously because they can see that you haven't really done some necessary steps to figure out exactly what you want to buy. And also, you're going to waste your time because you're going to start analyzing all these deals and they're not going to fit. So you can do it once you have your buy box, so like your size of building, your location, what are some like no go things for you. For us, it's like inadequate parking or certain areas of Edmonton. Like we're just not going to look there, so we don't waste our time analyzing those deals. Or if it's something is more than a 45-minute drive from Edmonton, for example, that's not something we're looking at. So you have to figure out for you, what are you looking, and the big one is your strategy. Are you looking at new builds? Or are you looking at existing properties? Because they're completely different. So once you've have that figured out, and it might take some iterations of looking at some deals and realizing, oh, that's not actually what you want to buy, and then going back and refining that buy box. And then you can filter through those deals a lot faster and then go to the next step, which is the process. You'd have to then know that you're not going to then ask your realtor to go out shopping and going to look at a bunch of multifamily and walking through them to determine which one you want to get. The next step is analyzing the numbers. But yeah, you need to run through those numbers, figure out, get as much information as you can at first. And that's, as far as numbers, I'm talking about income and expenses. It's unlike residential. You're not just, seeing the price of the property and then determining whether that works for you or not. You have to take the income and expenses, the cap rate, and analyze the deal as an appraiser would and figure out the
Hmm.
value of that property. And then you're either like
Hmm.
trying to negotiate that based on knowing the value, or if it's too far off from what they're asking, maybe you just pass on that one because you know that it's, worth $1 million less than they're asking. You're probably not going to find a place to meet in the middle.
Right. And I
So
think as you gain experience as an investor, if the numbers don't make sense, but we'll say 90% of it does make sense, but 10% doesn't, you'll start to learn additional questions to ask the seller and maybe find opportunities of middle ground or ways that you can make the deal make sense, whether it's like creative financing or some type of alternative. I mean, when it comes to negotiating deals, it's really you're only limited based on your creativity. There's no guardrails you need to stay within. And I can tell you that with the offers that we write, there is no limitations. As long as you can write it on a piece of paper and there's clarity and agreement between both sides, I mean almost anything can happen, right?
yeah,
Like your wildest but you can't find a solution to make the deal more attractive for you without asking the right questions to the seller to better understand what their situation is. This is if it's a legacy build. If it's pre-construction, it's a little bit different. They're
yeah,
probably it's a little more straightforward with pre-construction, but it's also not because there's a lot of like uncertainties. You can't walk around and see the
yeah,
structure. All you can do is maybe see the previous house or a bag of dirt sitting on the
exactly. So
it
that's where
just
the
there's nothing
numbers
there.
numbers matter so much more. And yeah, whether it's like existing property or new build, like you have to come in with knowledge. And if you're in a lot stronger position, if you understand what the value of that property is, and you can like negotiate or work with the seller based on that. But if you're kind of coming in unknowingly, that's not gonna go well for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the big step of it is analyzing that deal and knowing like what the actual market rents are, what the expenses are, knowing which expenses you need to use in that valuation and which ones you don't use, knowing which cap rate to use, because that's, being off of that by 0.25%, it makes a huge difference. It could be thousands of dollars in difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw one recently. It was an appraisal that the income was probably, it was definitely $15,000 higher than I know it could be rented for right now. So, and
And
that
this is a
this was a
pre-construction.
pre-construction, yeah. So this appraisal for, something that hasn't been built yet, I'm comparing that to a very similar eightplex that my mentees just closed on. And I would say my mentees building is in one of the best neighborhoods in Edmonton. So this property, which is a little bit, it's still a pretty good neighborhood and maybe not as good. Yeah, I can compare it directly. I know exactly what they rented their building for right now, and they tried to get the most that they could because they had to meet certain income targets set by the lender. And so they
Hmm.
got it as high as they could. And now this appraisal for this other property is saying that it's $15,000 more, that they could have gotten over $1,000 more per month. But that's impossible. There's no way they could have gotten that. So
Hmm.
you have to, yeah, these days, that's why it's so critical to know how to run your own numbers. You just can't completely trust any pro forma you get or any appraisal you get. You have to run the numbers yourself, verify everything.
Hmm.
Because the danger in that is overpaying for the property. And this is where you can, yeah, not waste thousands of dollars overpaying for something. And then if you're overpaying for something, you're basically telling the lender that you're expecting to hit these income and expense targets. And if you can't do that, there's some like severe consequences, because it's not like residential where you get your mortgage and the lender doesn't really bother you for the next 5 years, your term. As long as you keep making your mortgage payments, you're fine. But it's not like that on the commercial side. Like they are actually reviewing your numbers every year. You have an annual review. And if you're not meeting that DSCR, that 1.1 or 1.2 that you need to meet, like they could ask you to buy down your loan. And maybe you have to come up with $200,000 to like buy down the loan so you actually meet that DSCR. And what if you have
Hmm.
multiple properties like this and you have to put $200,000 on each one? Like this is where people are gonna, if they're overpaying for properties, are gonna be in big trouble when the market
Yeah.
turns. Because I feel like
Right.
it's not if, it's when.
Yeah. It definitely is
Yeah.
when. And I'm already
Yeah.
starting to feel some initial signs right now that things might be slowly changing. And again, Edmonton's never been drastic for market changes, like some of the larger cities. So don't take that as an indication like, oh my God, things are gonna what's gonna happen tomorrow? It's not like that at all. I mean, I've never historically seen major. We'll see slight drops, but
Yeah.
it's never anything crazy. But you do want to make sure that, the one word that I'm giving everybody for quarter three, quarter four, quarter one, quarter two, going into next year is conservative. Be conservative with your rents, be conservative with your numbers, because you want to make sure that you have a little bit of a stress test on that property, that if, things do change by 5% or more, that you're still in a good position and you're not setting yourself up for failure, because we are in many cases with some of the numbers that we're seeing, kind of best case scenario,
Yeah.
the rents, the vacancy between last year and this year are some of the best we've ever seen historically. And, it's tough to hold on to that position. There's a lot of long-term growth for Alberta. I think out of all the provinces, I think Alberta has some of the greatest advantages over the next decade with infrastructure that's planned, with population. So I don't
Yeah.
think we're going anywhere, but we are definitely going to see ebbs and flows in the market, and these are the things that you need to know. And most importantly is how to analyze these properties, how to develop a buy box, how to be able to review the numbers, what professional partners should you have in your pocket that you want to create relationships with early on,
Yeah.
so then you can go ahead and lean on them when it comes to your power team, because a
Yeah.
power team is going to be very effective and show you potential blind spots that you may not be aware of that can be extraordinarily expensive. So,
Like you said, it's the Alberta market is very, it's positive. Like I think everything is going to work out really great in the end, but it's historically a cyclical market. It goes up and then down a little bit, and then up and then down a little bit, and you have to be prepared for that downturn. And like I said, it doesn't happen right away. And those that understand the market and can watch those indicators, like you can see it coming. So it's not a surprise, but it can be a surprise if
mhm,
you don't really understand what's going on. And that's the most challenging thing if you're coming from out of town and investing here. Like you don't quite understand that rents actually could go down, and they could go down quite a bit. Like they went down
mhm,
25% on some of our properties in 2015. And that could happen again. So, like you said, know how to do those stress tests on all your variables. Because especially in multifamily, it's not that you're just losing a bit of cash flow if rents go down, like the actual value of your property goes down, because the value is your income minus your expenses divided by the cap rate. And so a small decrease in rent actually has a huge value decrease. So
mhm.
you gotta just, but as long as you can know that ahead of time, be prepared for it, whether you have a reserve fund, you have other things you can do to prepare yourself, then you can get through those downturns and then you're off to the races. Like you'll, as long as you can kind of get through that next one.
Definitely. And I mean, the biggest thing is, that I've picked up is, staying connected with others so you can see what the normal is, what people are doing, what are some things, what's some adversity that you've gone through that you might be able to learn as an investor yourself going forward that might help you better weather the storm, changing your lens that you're looking through when it comes to certain deals or how to approach certain situations. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys soon. See you guys.